Well, what would an Oklahoma gardening show in March be without some pruning? We have to do some on every show because it's that time of year. And right now we're working among our purple raspberry plants. And we've talked about pruning brambles in the past, but it always bears a little bit of repeating to go over the basic methods so that you can keep a real tidy bramble patch. I think one of the biggest areas of failure with people in growing raspberries and blackberries is they don't prune them every year. Pretty soon they get into an untenable patch. Let's take a look at this purple raspberry right here. Now, this is royalty variety. It's grown very well here. We have it on a drip irrigation system and it's done extremely well, but it needs thinning out. It hasn't been pruned in a while. And the first chore when pruning any members of the bramble family is to prune out the old fruiting canes. And if you take a look over here, we have some flowering and fruiting structures left over from last year, and that's a tip-off right there that was a fruiting cane. It's dead now, all the way back to the ground. It's not going to do anything more for us, and we need to be sure that we take that out. And the rest of these we'll take on back to the ground. You can also tell if it's an old dead cane just by looking at the cambium. If you look at the cross-section there, there's no green tissue there at all, and the bark is starting to peel off, and so that's generally a pretty good guideline that that's one that needs to come on out of the patch, taken all the way back to the ground. We also have some that have spread away from our drip irrigation line. If you look back here on the soil line, even though these might be fruiting for us this year, they've gotten away from the main crown of the plant, and they're making our bed wider and wider, getting out into the areas where we mow. And so generally the idea is just to take those off back to the ground or dig them up and give them to your friends as a plant for them to have in their yard. We'll go in and take out the rest of these old fruiting canes. And again, they're just sort of white and crackly looking. Make sure that you don't overstress your hand pruners. Use loppers if it gets a little too big so you don't spring the hand pruners. You can see this is starting to look a little bit tidier. Okay, now we have some decisions to make. We have all primo canes in here, and a primo cane is a cane that grew last year vegetatively. It only bore leaves, and this year, after going through a winter, it's going to have flowers and then have fruit on it. But for this plant, we have too many in one place for it to bear really well. Raspberries and blackberries respond directly to plenty of sunlight in order to have very tasty fruit that has a high sugar content. And so we really want to thin this out to 3 or 4 nice large canes and remove all the others. And so I'm just going to prune some of these smaller, weaker ones all the way back to the ground. And just leave the large ones because they're the ones that will bear the most fruit for us. You can see this is getting considerably thinned out and tidier looking than when we first began. Okay, I'm back to about 5 here. That's still too many. I'm going to take one more off right here. And we have about 4. And what you want to end up with red raspberries and also with the clump type purple raspberries is the equivalent of 1 flowering cane about every 6 to 10 inches along the row. We have 4 in a clump here, and these are spaced about 3 feet apart. So that's probably going to be close enough. The next step that we want to do is tie these up to the wire. Now, not all blackberries and raspberries need to be on a trellis, but these do need to be up high where we can reach them for picking. We've got one more here that we're going to tie up to the wire, and it's pretty simple practice. Just make sure you don't tie these too tight so that they get girdled. And as the new vegetative canes grow up from the crown this year, make sure that as you tie them to the wire that you don't tie them too tightly because they increase in diameter throughout the year. Now, I want to show you one more bonus before we close today. When you're out pruning raspberries and blackberries, you may notice that some of the canes from last year have arched over and done what we call tip layering. And I'm just going to pull this on out of here very gently. This is actually the end of a cane that arched over and rooted itself down in the soil, and it's a lovely little plant that we can pot up and give to our friends or move to another location. That's one of the bonuses of taking good care of your raspberries and blackberries. Last tip is make sure you fertilize them about a month after they leaf out, and they should bear very well for you. Well, that's all the time we have today on Oklahoma Gardening. Be sure to come back and see us next week.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.